you?
Sabrina, don't panic. Santa's had a little accident. Oh, it's okay. I'm gonna fill in for him. No, I promise it'll be fine.
Ladies, gentlemen, Bob Vila. Welcome to episode number 36 of Sabrina's Witch Trials. This is the show where each episode we venture back into the mid-1990s to rewatch, review, and reminisce all about everyone's favorite Friday night spellfest, Sabrina, the Teenage Witch. I'm Alex Araujo, and folks, it is truly the most wonderful time of the year because on this episode of the Witch Trials, we're going up on the rooftop, quick, to talk about Sabrina's stint as good old Saint Nick. We're talking Sabrina Claus, and to cover this episode in all its mediocre glory, I've brought along Sabrina's Witch Trials' very own Papa Noel. Fil Araujo is here. Phil, how you doing?
Good, Al. How are you?
I'm doing just great. Getting into the holiday season now, not only doing this episode, but of course we're in that time of the year, and rumor has it, one of my elves tells me that you are a massive fan of Christmas.
I am a massive fan of Christmas, yes.
You have very specific feelings on trees?
Yes, I have. There's certain, I have to have a certain level of tree.
Mm-hmm. Get that Walmart shit out of here.
I'm a humongous fan of the Hallmark Christmas series.
That is true.
To the point where I watch it religiously.
Good God. If ever we had an expert on for anything, it's you and covering a Christmas episode of something with Melissa Joan Hart in it.
Or Beth Broderick. She's been in a couple.
That's true.
Trying to think who else. I think those are the only two that come to mind.
The other one I would guess that might have slipped in there somewhere would be the one who plays Valerie, Lindsay Sloan.
I don't think she's been in any. But you know what? I will look. How about that?
He'll check his wall and look for the posters.
Yes. I will look through my poster wall here.
But yeah, it is truly the real fun time of the year. Not only just all the movies you get to watch, but all the Christmas stuff you get to do. I was out walking around town the other day, and like every 4 blocks, I must have passed another like Christmas tree stand, and like this was in Manhattan, and I was just horrified by all of these trees because I couldn't imagine any New Yorker actually buying a real Christmas tree for their apartment. Like that's enough hassle as it is if you have like a regular house, but having to take it up like 6 flights of steps, then clean up after it every like 2 days, and then have to dispose of it down 6 flights of steps is just insane.
I mean, the irony is, I do love Christmas, and I have a fake Christmas tree.
Oh, they're just easier.
I can't deal with that. I can't deal with that bullshit.
They're easier, and they look better. They look more uniform.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like I have a real wreath on my door most years, but like that's a pain in the ass in itself. Like I have to sweep the front door every day, so like I don't want to have to sweep a corner of my house. And then again, with a cat in the house, it's exponentially worse.
Chim chimney.
Welcome to Al Bitches About Real Christmas Trees.
Sweeping.
And sweeping. God damn it. Get a Hoover, Al.
And the cat.
Just Al Bitches About most things. That's really what the show is.
Hey, we got a new segment, ladies and gentlemen. It's Al Bitches.
We've got a new segment. It goes for an hour and a half, and there is no other segment.
If this is your first time listening, Al bitches a lot.
Yeah, go figure. And also, this is what my voice sounds like. I'm sorry. It's not going to get any better from here on out.
I mean, it can't be sexy like mine.
No, it can't be fucking Walter, what's his name? Matthau. No.
Walter Matthau.
Yeah, I'm sure he was in a Christmas movie also. Very topical. But probably. Phil, as I said, we're here to talk about episode 36 of Sabrina's Witch Trials, season 2, episode 12, I believe. Yes, that's correct. Sabrina Claus. And, as you know, to kick off every episode of the Witch Trials, I ask my guests to describe the episode of Sabrina the Teenage Witch that we watched in a set number of words. And seeing as we're talking about a Christmas episode, let's go with 12. Phil, 12 words.
Oh, God. Always the wrong number.
Did you go like 3 to 11?
Well, to be honest with you, I really totally forgot until about 10 minutes ago, and then I started writing, and I only went up to 7, so I was like, nah, fuck it.
Well,
I'll just wait till it would throw me a number, and then, with the magic of editing, it'll sound like I just brought it up.
You can just put in 5 words before that, like, in this episode of Sabrina.
Al, I have 12 words.
Phil, give me a dozen words to describe this episode.
Sabrina learns that Christmas is not about being selfish, but to give.
That is true. That is definitely what happens in this episode. If you could have worked in the word Ratzenberger, I would have been impressed. But, you take what you can get.
Papa Ratzenberger.
He's not bad in this episode. He's definitely not the weirdest guest star on this episode.
What do you mean, Al?
You're a regular Johnny Mathis, Phil. That's what I was trying to think of before.
I mean, you just start listening. You know what? Where is my Johnny Mathis CD?
Where is my CD of me singing? God.
I mean, I have my CD of me singing.
That's true. Phil sings the classics. That did really bust the charts.
Yes, all of the great songs of Chumbawamba.
It's just tub thumping 12 times.
I get no doubt, but I get up and in. All right, that's enough of that.
He didn't actually look at the lyrics when he sang the song.
I literally just made them up.
Phil, as I said, episode 36, Sabrina Claus, first aired December 19th, 1997, written by Charlie Tursek, I believe it's pronounced. This is one of the few episodes he's written so far, but I think he'll go on to write more. And just as a bit of fun, Phil, the number 1 movie in America on December 19th, 1997. Any guess?
Hmm. 97.
Late 97.
December. I have no freaking clue, Al.
See, this is actually interesting because a lot of people remember this coming out in like early 98 when it became like consistently popular.
Oh, don't say it.
Phil?
Was it Titanic?
It was Titanic.
Yes.
What a movie. What a song. My heart will truly go on for that Celine Dion song. Here's the thing. I was in the room while people watched it because I was a little kid. I did not pay any attention to it. I know what happens, okay? Someone ends up on a door and then he or she doesn't move to let he or she on the door. That's what happens, okay? I get it.
I mean, side note.
Also, I think a boat goes down.
Side note. There were people who watched that movie like 30, 40 times.
It's like 3.5 hours.
First of all, we all know what happened, okay?
Yes.
It's like the worst movie. It's like having a movie about, like, I don't know, World War II. Well, you know who's going to win.
Yep. I mean, you got that Sully Sullenberger movie that came out not too long ago. We all know how it ends.
It's like, it's not, the plane isn't going to like crash into the ground and, it's not like an alternate ending. They're going to survive. Jack is screwed. Sorry, Jack.
It would be a great twist if James Cameron was just like, nah, we're going to land in New York. We're taking her home.
Nothing memorable about this cruise. And it pulled right into the pier.
A safe trip had by all. 97 Titanic. This is where I think it started, where it would just make like $20 million week after week after week at the theaters, and then became the biggest movie of all time for many, many years. Anywho, we open, Phil, in the Spellman living room with the family getting ready for Christmas. The aunties decorating, while Sabrina makes out the list of things she wants, including a bike, a ski jacket, and a computer. Zelda notes how expensive that all sounds, but Sabs says that she's prepared gifts in every price range, extending a comically long wish list before heading out. Zelda worries that Sabrina is getting a bit spoiled, but Hilda says that she went through a phase like that before illustrating that it hasn't quite ended yet.
Don't worry, I went through that gimme phase. It'll pass.
You're right.
Hey, give me that wise man.
The aunties finish decorating, and Zelda adds that the only thing left is the tree before Hilda zaps one in. they marvel at how nice it is before deciding that since Christmas is a mortal holiday, they should do up the tree the mortal way and zap away this spectacular spruce to head out and get a real tree. This is halted as Zelda wonders where exactly they sell trees, leading Hilda to guess the forest as we go to the open. Phil.
Yes, sir.
This cold open in more ways than one because, Christmas.
Frigid.
What did you think here?
I thought it was pretty good. It kind of alluded to what we were going to get into in the story, which, with some of these is not necessarily always what happens. So, I was actually pleasantly surprised because it actually did kind of open up the story into what we were about to see. I did find it funny that, Hilda was talking about this is her favorite time of year, Christmas carols, sleigh rides, and then gigantic electric bills. Something you would definitely know a thing or two about because you just decorated the house with lights everywhere. Oh, they're LEDs. They're energy saving. Look, here's the thing: if you can't enjoy it, if you don't have the money to enjoy it, then don't do it. That's all it is. That's how I feel about Flag Day. If you can't hoist it high, don't fucking bother. There you go. Exactly. Fly it high or don't fly it at all. Phil's talking about Christmas. Fly that Christmas flag high. I actually have two. Now, Sabrina, her wish list is pretty comically 90s, don't you think? Oh my God, yes. So Sabrina was, in high school in 97. And we always talk about this, that it was around the same time period. I was in high school in 97 as well. A computer was something I wanted. A mountain bike, not necessarily a ski jacket, because maybe that's a little bit more, I don't know, like higher brow than I was back in the day. Right. But I did want a mountain bike. Yep. And I did want a computer. So 2 out of the 3. If you exchange Rangers jersey for ski jacket. Man, I don't know. I'm trying to think. Let me think. 97. Probably like a Discman. I had one eventually. Yeah. But I wanted a Discman. I'd probably want a newer Discman. Did you have a big yellow one? I probably did. I had a few. I feel like I remember you having like a bright yellow one at one point. Oh yeah, because the biggest problem of a Discman that nobody in the younger generation has to deal with nowadays is what, Al? Skipping. Skipping was the biggest problem. Yeah. And everybody said they had their 10-second skip or their 20-second skip. It was all bullshit. It doesn't matter. It was going to skip one way or another. That's the thing is you don't think about that until you actually have a Discman and you have to walk around with it. It's like, no, you're basically just bouncing everywhere with a CD player. Of course it's going to skip. And then, back in the day, you're buying these CDs. They're like $20, which, back in the day, you're working. It's $20 is $20. It's a pretty good chunk of change. Mm-hmm. And, God forbid that your Discman falls down and your disc pops out and cracks or scratches or whatever. You're screwed. And see, now you can just go to YouTube and you can listen to Thank You Next by Ariana Grande as much as you want. Or you just download it for $1.25 and boom, you got it forever on everything. Your Spotify subscription's got you covered. Ugh. Fuck, I can throw my phone. These kids nowadays, they don't know how easy they have it, Al. Yep. Play that role, Phil. Play that role. I just can't imagine Sabrina using a mountain bike of all things either. It's just like, this one? Why would she use a mountain bike? She's got a freaking vacuum that she could fly on. Also, the other thing is we can say this here, but this really applies to this whole episode. You're a fucking witch, Sabrina. You can have this days ago if you wanted it. Yeah. First of all, don't relate to us, okay, Sabrina? Sitting there in your ivory tower. You can literally make anything happen. Anything. And all these, and all this time, here we are, messing around with trying to bring up your moral stories and trying to figure yourself out. You know what?
You're a god amongst us.
You're a god amongst us. So I was going to say, what do you think about Zelda saying that it's a mortal holiday and they should do it the mortal way?
Here's the interesting thing. They do this a couple of times. Like, I think in season 4, they do this for Thanksgiving. But coming from having just watched The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, which, like, in that the family is strictly, like, devil worshippers, and their cult, or, well, their church, is, like, strictly against Christian beliefs, and to the point where they're like, that false god over there, fuck him. Like, coming back to this and then being like, oh yeah, Christmas is great, let's all do Christmas. It's like, that is a bit of a shift change, because like Zelda on Chilling Adventures would have like spat in that like little Santa's face and then like called Sabrina a hussy or something.
But it's Cliff.
That's true, but
it's Cliff from Cheers. You can't do that.
I'm sure somebody spit in his face before.
He is a mailman.
The other thing was, Phil, in terms of fashion in this scene, I thought Zelda looked really good, I thought, in that like red lacy top with a red matching skirt. Mm-hmm. Sabrina's hoodie was really weird, though, for some reason. Like, it was a black hoodie with like it was really wide sitting, and it had like a big fur collar around the hood. I thought it looked like something Libby would wear, and not her.
Maybe she raided Libby's closet.
Maybe. I think what they're subtly doing is like putting her in a more Libby outfit to show that she's going to be like the bad person for the first half of this episode.
You know? Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but that's what I'm here for. Anything else that stuck out for you here, Phil?
No, I think we're good to move on. I mean, it was funny that they said that, you know, where do they sell trees? And they thought maybe at the forest. I'm
sure some places there are, like.
But it's like some guy with like a, you know, instead of like a lemonade stand, he's got like a tree stand just standing there like, oh.
It's a tree stand in that he's just standing next to the forest with an axe. Like,
yeah. Which one you like? You like this one? Okay.
I mean, there are those places where you can go and like cut down your own tree.
Yeah.
It's like,
we have a few here in Ohio.
It just seems like too much work. Like,
I know, exactly.
This is
I bring mine up from the basement every year.
Exactly. You put it in the box in early January, you break it out and wait November, and you're done. 3
clicks, you plug it in, and it's good to go.
Speaking of 3 clicks, click, 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 up on the rooftop. In Westbridge, Sabrina tells Harvey that she can't decide which of her gifts she should work for the most, or if she should go for all of the above. And he rightly calls her out on her bullshit. She asks if he can go to the mall with her to do some Christmas preparations, but he says that he can't as he got a job playing Santa, which she somewhat rudely shits on.
Got a job at Hillman's as a Santa Claus.
Is that just for the holiday season?
He says it's okay, the job is, but that he just feels bad for all the kids who aren't going to get the gifts that they asked Santa for, leading Sabrina to feign feeling sad before wondering if she should ask for a helmet to go along with the bike. Later in history class, Sabrina hears about an American defeat in the Revolutionary War, and while thinking about her gifts, ends up imagining George Washington doing some sick tricks on a mountain bike, causing her to smile and causing her teacher to wonder why she's so happy about such a bloody war. Sabrina just blames this on the desensitizing pop culture has brought upon her. Back at the Spellman house, the aunties fight to get a tree stand on the bottom of their new fresh tree, and Salem gives them a bit of sass.
Oh, I see. First you kill the tree, and then you humiliate it.
Zelda says that once they're done, they should roast some chestnuts the old-fashioned way, but Hilda just asks where all this madness is going to end. Maybe with them driving to the store? The fuck? At lunch, Harvey shows off his gloppy meal to Sabrina, and she asks him to save her a seat, grabbing a tray for herself and deciding to zap in something that sounds edible. You know, that edible baked potato. As she does this, we see a potato disappear from the plate of a Russian man who says that he waited in line for 4 days for that potato. Harvey wonders how she got it when she sits down, but she just says that she got the kosher meal And he eventually turns down a bite of her potato as he says it smells like vodka. Playing to the lowest common denominator there, Sabrina, give me a break.
Want a bite?
No thanks. It smells like vodka.
Why couldn't it smell like borscht or something? Back at the house, the aunties are now trimming the base of their tree with a comically large saw. Eventually, their rhythm helps them to trim it, and Salem tells them that if they cut any more off, they'll be able to use it as an air freshener. Back at Westbridge in the halls, Libby walks up to Harvey, who asks about her Christmas plans. She says that she hates the holiday, explaining that her stepbrother Russell will be there and that he's a brat. Shocking Harvey, who can't imagine that there would be a brat in the Chesler house. She explains how awful he is, that's Russell, before seeing Sabrina listening in on their conversation and asking what her problem is and if she's hoping Santa will bring her a personality for Christmas. As Libby walks off, Sabrina just tells her that she's also hoping Santa brings her a crossbow. We go back to the house one last time as the aunties are now pushing the tree into place with Salem's encouragement, encouraging them through like a classic cheerleader microphone. And once it's up, he comments that the ugly appearance of this mortal tree must be why mortals drink during the holidays. It's only one of the reasons, Salem. Thanks a lot. Phil.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's start off with Sabrina's bitchiness in the halls here. She gives Harvey she's really mean to Harvey about, she's not really mean, but she makes a snide comment to Harvey about him getting a job as a Santa.
Well, yeah, and then, like, she's like, oh, let's go to the mall so we could do some recon on what we can get for Christmas.
Yeah.
Like, don't you know what you want for Christmas? Like, you don't have to go do recon for it. Like, just pick whatever you want.
Every list can be improved, Phil. You gotta take a look around. You gotta look at what the new mountain bikes are like.
But you're right. You know, you have to go to Mountain Bikes or Us. But, honestly, you're right. Like, she's shitting on the poor guy. He's just trying to get a holiday job to get some extra money. Mm-hmm. He's playing Santa, which, side note, probably the worst choice for a Santa ever.
I wrote this down later on, but you're absolutely right. It's like, who the fuck would hire Harvey as a Santa? Like, he's 16, not a lick of facial hair on his face. He's also really an idiot. Like, he's proven many times to be really bad.
And he weighs like 130 pounds. Like, come on.
He's not fat at all, and he's bad with kids.
Yeah. He's just an awkward person around people anyway. He's like the worst people person in the world.
He's a regular owl, he is.
I mean, yeah. I mean, who else? Yeah, I mean, who else can we get? Let's see. We have Harvey and Al. Well, let's hire them both.
I don't know. That other one says fuck a lot and makes a lot of sarcastic quips. And I don't think the kids will appreciate references to Caroline in the City. So let's go with Harvey.
But yeah, you're right. I mean, absolutely. Who would hire him? And then what about this mystical store, Hillman's? We've never heard of.
It's Hilda's store, Phil. It's the one. It's where she goes off to.
For a second there, I had to go back a couple of times and listen to it because I swore they said Hellman's. I'm like, the mayonnaise is the name of a store. They use the name of the store for mayonnaise.
Yeah, the Hellman's Mayo Emporium is where Santa sits in Westbridge.
How do you think I get so fat?
Here's some sandwich spread for you, little girl, and and a nice turkey club for the boy.
And then what about Harvey asking Libby her take on Kwanzaa?
That's great.
What's your take on Kwanzaa?
Why do you have to even throw that in there? This is a Christmas episode.
It's because it's their holiday episode, but it's like, it's kind of hard to do jokes in a Christmas episode.
It's 1997. Nobody was celebrating Kwanzaa in 1997.
I mean, some people were. Libby was not.
Yeah, exactly. The two whitest people, no.
Honestly,
so.
Fucking Libby Chesler, the most Protestant-looking person I've ever seen in my life.
I mean, come on. She looks like a freaking Quaker. Like, come on. Like, really? Oh, yes. I had my Kwanzaa candle lit, ready to go.
That's
okay.
Right. Also, can we talk about Sabrina's choice in lunch for a second?
Well, she stole the poor, Eastern European man's potato.
Okay, here's the thing. Phil, think of something edible that you want for lunch. It's not a baked potato.
I mean, not as not as a main dish. Yeah, like steak and baked potato. Okay. Baked potato and nothing. No.
A burger, a chicken sandwich, some bagel bites. These are all things you would zap in before a baked potato.
But the only thing that makes that whole thing worse, Al, is she's supposed to be like 16 years old. What 16-year-old goes, you know what I feel like for lunch today? A baked potato.
Also, it is the blandest baked potato. There's no sour cream on it. You got no chive.
Well, she just took it from this Eastern European man. He stayed online for 4 days for it.
The funny thing is, like, in terms of what would be in a high school cafeteria, you could probably find a baked potato in them pretty easily.
Exactly. It's like, oh, I zapped in this like peanut butter and jelly. Like, oh, okay.
Could have just walked through those doors. There would have been one there.
Yeah, you could see. Yeah, you know, Joe over here has got a peanut butter and jelly too.
He must be a witch.
I mean, it's like, you know, it's not like you like zapped in like, you know, a complete turkey dinner with like all the fixins, and I'd be like, what the hell is this?
A meatball sub.
I'm gonna zap in this ham and cheese. I'll show you.
She just walks up with like a giant hoagie. Oh, they started putting these out.
You know what, Al? I didn't realize how stupid that was.
It's really dumb.
It is the dumbest thing I've heard. That might be that might be going into the back of the linen closet. One baked potato.
Also, the other thing that doesn't make sense is like Harvey is supposed to be super jealous of what Sabrina has, but it's like it's just a potato.
Dude, I don't know. I think I'd rather have the glop at that point. I'm like, okay, you got a baked potato with nothing on it.
He has more variety. He's got like 7 different kinds of glop.
And it might have some taste to it opposed to this bland ass baked potato.
Of course Harvey says it tastes like vodka. Of course it does. Vodka's made from potatoes. That's like the main ingredient.
Oh God.
Let's talk about the aunties and their tree bits, Phil. I thought they were kind of fun. I think it's, I just got kind of irritated because this whole time I'm just like, okay, I get it. You want to do this the mortal way. You're struggling way too much. Just use the fucking magic to put the tree up or something. Like, you can still decorate it yourself.
I mean, the funniest thing of that whole, like, back and forth with them trying to do it for me was later on, like you said, Salem had a bullhorn.
Yeah.
And he's telling his sisters to push, push, push.
Yeah.
And he goes, I knew my Lamaze classes would pay off eventually.
Yes.
Push, 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 push. I knew those Lamaze classes would pay off.
Salem's very quippy in this episode. He's got a lot of smart little barbs.
So, you know, for me, that was probably the best part of it. But I agree with you. Like, you know, you don't fool me like that. You know, mortals have it so hard, and you know, okay, we understand it, but like, just like you said, just do it.
Right. I might want to make butter myself one day, right? That's something some people want to do. Some people who like to make butter. But, like, I'm not going to get the churn out. I would probably use a stand mixer or something and do it. I wouldn't be like, all right, well, I'm going to move to Pennsylvania. I'm going to buy the best churn I can. No, I'm not insane. Also, like, 90% of the stuff they were doing, the person who sells you the tree will do for you.
Yeah, it's like, oh, they're trimming the tree, and like, it's like, oh, how do we put it on the stand? Like, really? Like, it's not that difficult. Like, there's a big hole, there's a peg goes in a hole, it stands up, it's done.
Phil used to be a health education teacher, folks.
Heyo.
Yeah, I do agree with you that the one good thing about these segments is Salem's little commentaries, and I think by and large he's the best part of this episode.
Unfortunately, that's the he's the best part of the episode.
Like so many episodes before and after.
What'd you think about Russell?
Russell,
or well, not necessarily. Well, we'll talk about
the
Russell
idea of Sabrina
of
Libby having
Libby's
one?
The introduction of her having a bratty stepbrother.
You know, this might surprise you, Phil. I can't think of a time that it comes up again in the future. I may be wrong.
I don't think it ever comes. I don't even remember her having a sibling until just now.
I mean, I know that in the episode 5 Pieces of Libby, I think it's called, where Sabrina turns her into a puzzle. They go to her house, but he's never mentioned there, I don't think. So enjoy him while he's here, Phil, because he does have a real punchable face.
I mean, he looks like,
They cast the brat very well, I will say that much for them.
Yeah, I mean, he's a bratty kid.
Anyway, at dinner that night, a fabulously dressed Sabrina decides to conjure some more asparagus, because teens, they love their green vegetables. And when she does this, she gets a piece with a bite taken out of it, leading Hilda to point out that she just zapped her piece onto her plate. Sabrina worries that there's something wrong with her magic, so Hilda tells her to zap in something like a blouse, which she does. Just then, Zelda returns from a lecture on garden snail fucking, noting that it was an awfully dry, those poor garden snails.
For a 6-part dissertation on the reproductive cycle of garden snails, it was awfully dry.
She takes off her coat, Zelda does, noting that it's quite cold outside. I've said noting twice now in the last sentence, but whatever. Only to reveal that she's now shirtless. She rightly freaks out that someone took her favorite green blouse, and Sabrina returns it as that was the blouse that she had zapped in moments earlier. Sabrina and Hilda explain what's been happening with Sabrina's magic, and Zelda begins to believe that the problem might be psychological. So the aunties soon send Sabrina to Dr. Bull, an other realm witch psychiatrist. But as they push her into the linen closet, Sabrina just wonders why she had to sign that lobotomy release form. At the doctor's office, Dr. Bull notes that Sabrina's narcissism and conjuring other people's property leads her to believe that Sabrina has a case of egotitis. Sabrina just takes the opportunity to point out that it's the doctor who has a wall full of diplomas. Dr. Bull says that Sabrina's acting like a little girl, which she definitely is, to be fair, and the doctor eventually pulls out Sabrina's inner child to have a chat with her. The doctor asks what little Sabrina's favorite part of Christmas is, and shockingly, it's all the presents. Little Sabrina also adds that she loves being around other people at Christmas, provided that they give her presents. The doctor then sends her away, as little Sabrina wonders where the hell her presents are. Sabs asks if she needs a shot or if she can just get away with an inhaler, but the doctor explains that the cure for egotitis is to rediscover the true meaning of Christmas, and it has to come from within. She says this as she sticks Sabrina with a $120 medical bill. So, other realm, no universal health care there. Phil.
Yes, sir.
First thing here. This scene where Sabrina and Hilda are in the kitchen may be the absolute best Melissa Joan Hart has ever looked on this series so far. Like, she looks fucking great. Her hair is beautiful. It's shiny. It's well combed. I don't know what I'm saying here. I'm not good at describing hair. It's wavy. It's nice. It's luxurious. Fantastic looking hair. The red outfit she's wearing, which is like her top is like almost a red halter top with somewhat see-through red sleeves and a red choker. She looks fantastic. She's winning at Christmas here.
I don't disagree with you. I think she looks really good.
It is weird that she's wearing this just to eat dinner with Hilda, but whatever.
But unfortunately, I think later on we'll see that like there's a little bit of a demise in her in this outfit. At least in my point of view. But I think you're right. I think she looks for a teenage boy of my age back then, she was probably looking a 10 at that moment.
I will also point out that Melissa Joan Hart was, I believe, 21 when this episode aired. Just putting that out there. And yet, Phil, somehow she managed to be the second hottest thing in this scene, as all those nickels I've been throwing into fountains finally worked, and we get topless Zelda. What the hell, Phil?
Well, the word topless is,
We got TGIF topless Zelda.
Yes, that's what we got. Yes. When I was watching, I thought to myself, I said, all of Al's wishes have now come true. I don't have to get him. I will. His Christmas wish has come true.
I'm just going to print this out and frame it for him. Look, Beth Broderick looks really good here. I mean, like, it is TGIF, so she's wearing, like, the longest long line bra ever, but it is white and lacy, and it is a bra, so few complaints here. I thought the funniest thing was, like, with 2018 eyes, she just looks like any girl walking around in the summer. Like, she's got a short skirt and a bra or bralette on. Like, it's what they wear. Thankfully.
I mean, most people would have, back then it was like, oh, look at, it would have been a scandalous thing.
Did you see what Zelda wore?
Now it's just like, yeah, just another day.
Still fun, though. Let's go to Dr. Bull's office here, Phil. I believe if it's something Carr who's playing Dr. Bull, and she's actually really good, so I want to get her name.
I think isn't it Jamie Carr?
Jane Carr.
Jane Carr.
Yeah,
I knew something J.
She's been in absolutely everything for one episode, so you know her. You recognize that voice, definitely.
Yep.
Conjure things from others, narcissism. Based on these symptoms, one would conclude that you're suffering from egotitis.
Me? I'm not the one with a wall full of diplomas.
Attacks when provoked. It's a textbook case. You're behaving like a little girl.
I'm not.
And she's really good as the doctor. I thought the worst acting in the scene was Emily Malinowski, who plays little Sabrina. A lot of her lines feel like they are just like the 12th time they asked her to say them, and like she's just trying so hard, but like it's obviously been like cut together because like it doesn't flow naturally at all.
Tell me, inner child, what do you like most about Christmas?
Oh, the presents!
Do you enjoy being with other people at Christmas?
If they bring me presents.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was pretty, like you said, it was pretty much just thrown at her, like, just say this line.
Yeah,
okay.
We're gonna use the 6th take of this line and like the 9th take of this one.
Let's just go with it.
Yeah. Also, you'll note that she's such a good actress that her IMDb has exactly one credit, and it's this.
Yeah, well, maybe that's what happened. Mom said, you know what? Maybe acting isn't for you.
Yeah, this is one of the few times I wish they actually had cast one of Melissa Joan Hart's sisters, because
No.
it would have made more sense in this.
Nope.
What stuck out for you here, Phil?
To me, I don't know. I like that she was diagnosed with what was it?
Egotitis.
Egotitis. I wrote something totally different on here that I'm not going to repeat. But for some reason, I wrote ego tits.
I mean, look.
I forgot an I.
That's pretty much what Zelda had when she took her jacket off. And
hey.
Healthy ego, indeed.
Like you said, Dr. Bull says that, gave her egotitis and said, diagnosed her with egotitis and said that she needed to discover her holiday spirit, so.
Sorry, I was reading through my notes and I wrote rediscover the true media of Christmas.
I don't know, yeah, because you like type it so fast, and I'm like, what the hell did I write?
And of course, in a few minutes, Sabrina will discover the true media of Christmas, that being a Johnny Mathis Christmas album.
Wait, this says J. Mathis on it.
Oh my god. Clouseau, indeed. Back at home, Sabrina hangs a wreath on the door before noting to Zelda that she's still not feeling very Christmassy. Hilda suggests a little bit of music, telling her to zap in a Johnny Mathis Christmas CD, the sexiest beast in town. She does, but we soon see that it came from Mr. Mathis's house himself, as he tells himself to get a grip when he can't find his precious CD.
I swear my Christmas album was here a minute ago. Come on, John, get a hold of yourself.
The aunties then swoon over his voice as Hilda looks over the CD case, which just happens to be labeled property of J. Mathis. Sabrina then realizes her egotitis has not gone away before suggesting that she opens a couple of gifts. Maybe that'll help. This causes the gifts to disappear, as Zelda explains that people with egotitis can't receive any presents. Go figure. And Sabrina just hopes that the egotitis is gone before her birthday. Sabrina says that there must be something they can do, and Zelda says that there is someone that can help, but Hilda explains that they haven't called him because he's apparently a very big hoo-ha in the other realm, and I thought that sounded like he was a very big penis in the other realm.
And we didn't call him before because...
He's a very big hoo-ha in the other realm.
Zelda says he's Bob, before she and Hilda summon him with the Bob song. In pops Bob, played by John Ratzenberger, who Zelda tells about their problem with Sabrina's egotitis. He says that they have another problem, that being their garbage Christmas tree. He considers taking Sabrina on a trip to Christmas Past to recapture the magic of Christmas, but stops short as he says that's been done before, with Hilda adding that the graveyard bit is not so much fun. Instead, Bob takes her to go recapture some childhood Christmas memories and maybe swing off and stop by the Chrysler dealership. Take a look at the new models. Big caravan. Town and country.
The Dart.
The Dart. The Durango might have been out by then.
Oh, Durango. Let's see. Go ahead. Continue on. I'm going to find the 1997 models of all these vehicles.
Probably the 300 was still around. As Sabrina just wonders if they actually know who Bob is. We then get a montage, because it's season 2 of Sabrina and every episode has a montage, of them doing Christmassy things. Sabrina begrudgingly giving money to a Santa ringing a bell on a corner. Bob and Sabrina making and then burning trays of Christmas cookies, and most fun of all, Sabrina watching Libby wait in line with her stepbrother Russell to see Santa, only to have Russell fake Libby hitting him so that the people around him will yell at Libby. This causes Sabrina to smile because she's not very nice right now. Phil.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's... I want to ask you a question I ask every once in a while. But
Chrysler Sebring?
Yes, that's right.
The convertible.
The Michael Scott special, baby.
That's it, the convertible.
I want to know, do you think Johnny Mathis is the most out of left field guest star the show has ever had?
Yes.
He's
absolutely.
He's right up there.
And here's the thing, like, I was kind of thinking about it, okay? Like we were discussing, I am kind of an aficionado when it comes to Christmas. Mm-hmm. And I'm trying to think of all of the Christmas songs that I hear. How many times have I heard Johnny Mathis singing Christmas songs? Now, I'm not saying that I've never heard it, mm-hmm. but it's pretty rare. Like,
you're saying his,
I literally
his are not the definitive version.
Right, his renditions of the songs,
yeah, you
hardly hear.
There's always a more popular version of all those songs.
There's always, I mean, you got to think about it. Think about, okay, if I tell you, Al, name me 5 artists that you know that sing Christmas songs,
Michael
that are famous
Bublé
for their
is
Christmas
the top.
songs. Well, who's that?
Michael Bublé is the top.
Okay, because you're younger. Okay, so yes. Michael Bublé.
Well, Bing Crosby, obviously.
Okay,
Nat King Cole.
Yeah.
Elvis has Blue Christmas.
Yeah.
Let's see, who else is there? I'm a big fan of the Ronettes Christmas album.
Oh, okay. Okay. Giving yourself a little Motown.
I mean,
nothing wrong with that.
I mean, now you would say Mariah Carey, obviously, also.
Okay. So, in doing some research when I was watching, this, I thought to myself, Al, I said, you know what? What are the top 10 or top whatever Christmas albums per artist? Okay. Mm-hmm. So when you think of an artist and the most sales of a Christmas album, mm-hmm. so who do you think, like, so I could tell you right now, Al.
Mm-hmm. It's an old one.
Out of all of those artists that you said, you have 4 out of 5 artists.
Okay. Is the other one a very old person also?
So number 1 is Bing Crosby. Mm-hmm. White Christmas. The Christmas song by Nat King Cole. Mm-hmm. Elvis's Christmas album.
Sure.
Michael Bublé. Mm-hmm. The Carpenters, which is one I thought of.
I guess you could also do the Jackson 5. That's
a good one. Trans-Siberian Orchestra. Mm. The Beach Boys was actually on here, Little Saint Nick. Little Saint Nick is a good one.
Yeah.
Then they have like a very special Christmas, which is like contemporary artists. So like Sting and Madonna and Bon Jovi, they're singing Christmas songs. So okay, Mannheim Steamroller, Amy Grant, and then the Chipmunks Christmas album was the last one.
That's one some people like. I always fucking hated the Chipmunks, to be honest.
Well, to each their own.
Exactly right.
But Johnny Mathis was not one that I would have been like. And I think if you were a teenager back then, you wouldn't know who this person was.
That's the important thing, is it's like you are catering to an audience of like 12 to 16-year-olds predominantly, maybe a little bit younger. But like similar to the Bob Vila thing from the last episode we talked about, in this episode, what teenager was going, oh my God, it's music icon Johnny Mathis? No, they're like, why is that old man with ridiculous hair looking for his CD? I feel bad for him.
I mean, I think it comes down to the point where, it's TGIF. So they're trying to have something for everyone. Mm-hmm. And I think this something was for grandpa and grandma, yes. Where, Sabrina relates to the kids could relate to it. The aunts, mom and dad could relate to. I think the Johnny Mathis situation was something that grandpa, grandma, and maybe even mom and dad, if they're a little bit older, could relate to.
Should we book Johnny Mathis or NSYNC? Well, Mathis lives next door.
I mean, literally, it's like, we'll see, we have Mariah Carey available. You know what? No, let's go with Johnny Mathis.
It's just silly, honestly. Sabrina somehow thinks that getting presents will cure her egotitis. Does she not understand how this like miracle of Christmas storyline works? Has she never seen a movie?
No.
Literally later on, the one thing that brings them back is her saying, I don't care if I get presents. Just do that now as a just in case that works,
And okay, another question I have. Why would singing the beginning line of Barbara Ann summon Bob?
That's very good, Phil.
Right? Am I right or am I wrong?
How much thought did you put into that?
I literally thought about it when I was sitting there watching. I go, they're singing the melody of Barbara Ann, which for those of you who are younger is a Beach Boys song.
It's a very good one too.
So if Al, you could split the two, you could see what we're talking about here.
Ba 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 Barbara Ann.
Ba 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 ba
Barbara Ann. Oh ba 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 Barbara Ann. Ba 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 ba.
But yeah, I'm like, why is that? Why are they using it?
Maybe it's his favorite song. It probably would be like Cliff's favorite song.
It was Cliff's probably favorite song.
Just attracts him.
Oh man.
Speaking of Cliff for John Ratzenberger, I think he's actually really fun casting for Santa Claus. I think he does seem like he's not really giving it his full go, because like I've done Cheers for like 11 years or whatever. I'll do a guest spot, but I'm not really going to care because I already have a ton of money. But like he does seem to. The thing about him is like he's got such a well-defined character and delivery that like even if he's not trying very hard, he's just so charismatic that he's still fun to watch.
Hey, what's up?
Oh, hello, Bob. We have a problem. Our niece Sabrina has a case of egotitis.
It's not your only problem.
It isn't?
Ah, you've got one sorry-looking Christmas tree.
They look better with presents.
Oh, trying to recapture the spirit of Christmas, huh?
Can you help?
I'll give it a shot. I know. Say, why don't you and I take a little trip to Christmas past? No, it's been done.
See, unfortunately, he's like one of those people that it doesn't matter what he's in, you'll always go see him as Cliff from Cheers. Yeah. So it doesn't matter. Like, in some way, even like, there's
Kelsey
you'll
Grammer.
always see that. Yeah, like Kelsey Grammer is one like that. Or even,
David Schwimmer is one I always have that problem with.
Well, any of the Friends people, you always think of like Friends. That's what you think of.
Yeah.
You don't see Courtney Cox for anything but Friends, or you don't see, Jennifer Aniston and go, oh, yeah, you had the string of shitty movies. No, you go, oh, it's Rachel. It's what it is.
Especially, what's his face who played Chandler?
Oh, yeah. Whatever. Exactly. You don't even know his name. You know it's Chandler.
Yeah.
The other thing I had for you, so, when you do when they're doing the montage and you have, Sabrina's walking around in that outfit from before. Mm-hmm. So she's looking like a streetwalker with these big red shoes and this short skirt and this big red jacket. And she's walking around town with earmuffs. So first of all, you have this short skirt that's like almost showing like your hoo-ha. And here you are walking around with these earmuffs. Like, aren't your legs going to get cold? Aren't you going to be freezing?
Fashion over comfort, Phil, please?
I guess so. But Al, I want to see if you caught this, because I caught it, and I was watching this with my wife, and she caught it, and we started laughing about it because it was hilarious. So there's a scene where Sabrina, like you said, is giving money to the poor at Salvation Army Kettle.
Right.
They throw in $1 and it makes a clank.
Does it?
Yes. Play it back and watch it. It's hilarious. But they throw in $1 and it goes clank, and I'm like, it's $1. How does it go clank?
It's a really heavy dollar.
I mean, it's hilarious.
That which currency is all much heavier?
I mean, yeah, exactly. Like, if it was change, it would have been funny, but no, it was. No, if it wasn't change, it wouldn't be funny. But yeah,
that's the problem. Like, because you want to add a sound there to show what it landed, but it's like, what sound does a bill landing in a bucket make?
I mean, you don't have to make any sound. It's all you have to do is you had the music going, right?
Yeah.
All you have to do is just drop the $1. Okay.
I would have loved it if they put in like a page flipping or something like that sound.
It was literally a clank. And I'm like, what the heck was that? And I replayed it. I'm like, oh my God, they literally put a clank in there.
My favorite part of that montage is the Libby bit, mostly because of all like the terrible background actors just overreacting when
I know.
When Russell's saying that Libby hit him. Like the guy who's standing in front of her in like the newsy cap, who's just loudly and continuously going, "What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing?" I was like,
what the fucking business is yours what I'm doing? I'm going to smack you here in a minute.
It's like he's two people in front of her. You're not together.
No.
Don't get involved, asshole.
But yeah, then, like, he starts like crying about like, oh, you hit me. And then, like you said, like everybody, like all of a sudden, like this Antifa mob shows up and is like, "Rawr!" Like, what the heck? She was just standing there. Where were you 2 seconds ago?
Honestly, just mind your business sometimes, folks.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, you got to hear the clink. It's in there, I swear.
Sabrina and Bob are then seen making a snowman outside a house as an old man walks by and wishes them a Merry Christmas. Sabrina tells Bob that she's beginning to feel a lot like Christmas, as he says it was just a matter of time before he abruptly slips on a patch of snow, hurting his ankle. Sabrina zaps in a cane for him, only to have the old man lose his, revealing that her egotitis is still in place. Back at the house, the aunties are finishing their decorating of the mortal tree, complimenting themselves on their stick-to-itiveness, before they decide which one of them will zap away the abomination and bring back the better magic tree. Hilda does the honors, and returns this tree, which we're going to have to say one more thing about in a second, but once it's back, Salem says that it's a tad gaudy, and it's more than a tad gaudy, in all honesty. Sabrina then yells from the kitchen for help, and the aunties go to assist, as we soon see Bob propped up on the couch, and the Spellmans head in to the kitchen for an ice pack. When they get there, the aunties basically go ballistic on Sabrina, revealing to her that she's really fucked up now, as Bob is Santa Claus. Sabrina just says that she guesses she won't be the only one not getting a present this year. When we return, Bob says that he has a lot of stops to make and tries to stand before his ankle gives out on him. Sabrina asks if there's anyone who can fill in, but he says Mrs. Claus can't do it as she works for UPS and it's their busy season. Zelda explains that her and Hilda can't do it as they have to stay with Bob, and eventually everyone realizes that it's Sabrina's job to do. She tries to get out of it, but eventually she puts on her big red coat, and Bob tells her to head for the North Pole, but to take the second Santa's Workshop exit, not the first. As she leaves, Salem just notes that this is a girl who has trouble getting to school on time, so it's pretty impossible for her to deliver all those gifts, leading Zelda to think for a moment before saying that he makes an excellent point. The next thing we see, Sabrina and Salem arrive at the workshop as Salem really is regretting his statement.
Okay, this is a girl who has trouble getting to school on time, and she's supposed to deliver millions of presents by tomorrow morning? Am I the only one who sees a problem?
You know, Salem, that's an excellent point.
One of the elves freaks out with all the intruders, that being 2, and Sabrina stops all the freaking out to explain that Santa has had an accident, but she's here to fill in. Stunningly, this teenage girl does not do much to comfort all the freaking out elves. Sabrina wonders why so many of Santa's elves are actually full-grown adults, but one of them explains that it's because Fritz, the shortest elf, always happens to get in the photos whenever a camera comes out. Sabrina then observes Fritz's handiwork as he explains that he's chiseling a CD player out of a block of wood, much like how Phil got his first Walkman. And the head elf, Ted, I believe his name is, says that they're kind of under a time crunch and asks Sabrina to start wrapping gifts, as Salem just asks if Fritz can carve a digital camera for a friend of his named Salem. All right, Phil, what happens there? Let's add, first and foremost, the old man to the list of comical overactors because...
Whoa!
Yeah. When John Ratzenberger gets that cane, that old man thinks that he's having 1,000 strokes at once.
Oh, no!
Don't worry, I'll get you a cane.
Oh, thanks.
My cane! What happened to my cane?
Just my luck.
I mean, I tend to agree with you. That was a little bit too much.
And also, in terms of overacting, John Ratzenberger blatantly fake slipping on that ice. That kind of works for the story, because later on we find out he's faking the whole time, but right now, he just looks like an idiot who doesn't know how to take a real bump. What did you have here, Phil?
I had a couple of things here. My question to you, is Santa a warlock?
I mean, he definitely has magic powers. We know that.
So he's got magic powers, okay.
Yes.
He is known in the other realm.
Mm-hmm. He lives in the other realm.
He lives in the other realm.
Theoretically, or at least, like, he's, as you say, he is a recognized figure in the other realm.
He's a famous figure in the other realm.
That's right. Is your question going to be, why doesn't he actually use magic effectively?
No, my question is he a warlock? So is Santa really not really a human? He's really a witch.
I would say that he is. I think in this universe, witches are still like human, but like, yeah, I would say he's definitely like Edward Spellman. He is a warlock. He has magic powers. He uses them. We see them used several times in this episode. In many ways, Santa is as ineffective in using his magic as Sabrina is, because he still feels the need to go to every house instead of just like magically zapping in a gift to every house and being done.
Or just have Mrs. Claus, deliver it via UPS.
Those things won't get there in one piece.
The other thing that I had here was, was Fritz, mm-hmm. which who we later found out is Fritz, yelling Mayday like a maniac.
Real pain in the butt.
Real pain in the ass.
I do like the fact that they went to the trouble of explaining why all of their elf extras were full-grown adults.
Yeah, I was going to get into that. I'm like, I literally was like all the elves are taller than Sabrina.
They really are.
What the heck is going on? I mean, she's wearing heels. She's wearing her, her hooker heels. And I'm like, what the heck is going on here?
It is like threatening when they all gather around her. Yeah.
Then they explain it out. So, I did find it funny that Fritz, made a CD player out of, blowing away some sawdust. And, ho, look what we have here.
That is one of my favorite, I think that's actually in the Santa Claus movie also, like that gimmick of elves using old world manufacturing to make modern gifts. I would love to see that now in a Hallmark movie where an elf is carving a Nintendo Switch or an iPad out of a block of wood, and Apple promptly sues him for gimmick infringement.
Trademark infringement.
Yeah, you're going down, Fritz.
Mayday, mayday, mayday.
Apple's cadre of lawyers is coming after him.
Intruders.
One of my favorite things in this episode is the way that Zelda tells Sabrina that Bob is Santa Claus. When they walk in there, she says it with such irritation that Sabrina doesn't know this, and it's for one of a few times, I'm actually going to be on Sabrina's side here. You could have just said it was Santa. You went to the trouble of not calling him Santa Claus, which is what Sabrina would recognize him as more than Bob.
Do you realize what you've done?
What, Bob's gonna sue?
No, he's Santa Claus.
What?
And then here's the other thing. You would think the writers would have used Chris or, something like that.
Something alluding to Santa?
Yeah, to allude that was going to be Santa. But no, it's Bob.
Yep.
Yeah, why should she be irritated? It's you finding, Phil's actually Santa. Well, how the fuck did I know? We always thought it was, Kris Kringle or, all these other aliases that, we use for Santa Claus.
No wonder he loves red so much.
Shh, quiet, Al.
And no
Don't
wonder
tell
he has
everybody.
those 9 reindeer in his backyard.
So, Al, just let's to backstep a little bit. We were talking about the Johnny Mathis situation. So I did find one poll that had Merry Christmas by Johnny Mathis as the 10th out of 10 Christmas album.
I know
which you can promptly buy on Amazon for $4.53 right
I'm headed there to do it now.
Guess what you're getting for Christmas?
Hopefully something better.
They have it in vinyl for $22.50.
That's not worth it at all.
No, it's not.
One of the I do know that one of his songs, I think it might have been the Christmas song or something else, was in Home Alone 2, the New York Christmassy one. So maybe it was just and that was 1992, 1993. So maybe it's just residual fame from that.
Right.
But anyway, back at the house, the aunties bring Bob some soup before asking if there's anything else he wants. And after a bit of coaxing, he asks for a bunch of food and a game of mousetrap. Back at the workshop, the lead elf, Ted, I believe his name is again, tries to craft a Ferrari out of a piece of paper, but he's distracted by Salem's questions. Fritz then comes in yelling Mayday, as the reindeer have eaten Santa's list. And Salem begins to worry that all of the palms he had to grease to get on the good list were pointless.
Mayday! Mayday!
That guy's beginning to get on my nerves.
I found the list! The reindeer ate it! The reindeer ate it!
What are you gonna do?
Me?
You're in charge.
Do you know how many palms I had to grease to get on that nice list?
Sabrina wonders if anyone made a copy, and Ted says that there's a copy on Santa's computer, but no one knows how to use it. Sabrina weirdly starts shaming them about learning how to use a computer, like she's at some senior citizen's home or something. But Ted explains that Santa won't want them near the computer ever since Fritz got addicted to solitaire. Solitaire, I assume, is Ted's code word for pornography.
Mm-hmm.
Solitaire. Yeah, he plays a couple of games of solitaire, if you know what I mean. Back at the house, Zelda runs up to Hilda with a shopping list for Santa, which is basically just a bunch of sweets and some beer. Back in the workshop, Sabrina gets ready to fly off to Tokyo, receiving her itinerary before Fritz tells her that the reindeer are sick, of course saying Mayday, Mayday, assumedly because they ate the list. Salem, oddly clad in a fur coat, asks Sabrina if Zelda will loan them the station wagon, but she says that there's no time and zaps her trusty flying vacuum in, and the vacuum is complete with Salem in reindeer horns and a big red nose at the head. Sabrina hops on as the elves wave her goodbye and wish her luck, but as soon as she's gone, they immediately all agree that she's definitely not going to make it.
Where one of these days?
He does have a tendency to overreact.
The reindeer are sick. The reindeer are sick.
This time he may have a point.
It must have been the list they ate. What are we gonna do?
Think Zelda will let us borrow the station wagon?
There's no time for that. These children need presents.
Okay, we've all had our little laugh. Now take the nose off.
Ready to rock?
Is there still something on my head?
Good luck!
Godspeed. They're never gonna make it.
Back at the house, Hilda comes into the kitchen saying that you-know-who is ready for his pedicure, and that it's Zelda's turn. Zelda explains that she clipped his ear hair before Hilda says that she did, and wonders just how quickly that stuff grows. We then get a shot of Sabrina flying through the air. She says that they just finished the Baltic states, as Salem recounts that he had moussaka, baklava, and pad thai, wondering what the hell he was thinking. They then spot downtown Westbridge, which oddly I don't believe is anywhere near the Baltic states, but whatever. So they spot Libby's house, and Salem says that that's great because now he can vomit in her stocking. Sabrina just says that she got her a little gift, and that gift ends up being that her snotty stepbrother Russell gives Libby a crappily handmade jewelry box as a gift. Libby's touched by this and offers to share the roof of her gingerbread house with him. From the Dirt Devil, Salem says that he would have given Libby a lump of coal, but he's not the one wearing the big red hat. Okay, Phil.
Yes, sir.
So when Fritz finds the list that the reindeer have eaten, he holds it up to show the other elves. It's like 8 pages long.
Mayday! Mayday!
Like, you cannot fit the world's population on that list, no matter how small a font you use.
I mean, I don't disagree with you at all.
Back and front.
I mean, yes, you're right. He holds up a couple of shards of paper and is like, "No, the naughty nice list has been destroyed."
He just like lifts up a napkin and is like, "Well,
yeah, it's like a napkin that they just wrote a couple of things. Cliff wrote a couple of things on a Cheers bar napkin."
The other thing is that there's a whole lot of instances in this scene and the episode overall, as I mentioned before, where magic should be used just to make their lives easier, and anyone who's lived with magic their whole life, like these people, would be using magic, but they decide to just abruptly not. Like, I'm thinking of when Hilda is literally going out to get food for Santa. It's like, all 3 of you have magic powers. Zap in some fucking food.
Well, the thing I don't get is they literally just finished bitching about, like, oh, what do they do? Drive around in cars like slaves? And now they're going to go out and drive in a car like a slave.
And but that's the thing, is like, I get that you wanted to do Christmas the Mortal Way. This isn't Christmas. This is just avoiding going to a supermarket on Christmas Eve.
Mm-hmm.
Just fucking use your magic powers. In the same vein, so the reindeer are sick, and Sabrina opts to use the magical option of her flying vacuum, but decides to deliver the gifts one by one instead of just like using magic to deliver all the gifts at once.
I don't think she delivered anything, to be honest with you. I think she completely failed. The only thing I saw that she delivered was a shitty jewelry box, and that was about it.
And Harvey gets a good phone call later.
Yeah. She didn't give him like anything.
But I mean, they did spend an awful lot of time in the Baltic states.
Oh my god, yeah, and what kind of geographic freaking retardation is going on here?
I was going to look up the time zones and if that at all like correlates with time zones, but I don't think it does.
No, it does not. No, the Baltic states? I mean, the Baltic states, you're talking like Sweden and like Norway, and then you're talking about freaking, Westbridge, which is supposedly in Massachusetts, right outside of Boston.
Yeah, I hear people.
Come on, you have the Atlantic Ocean in between you. Oh, we're leaving the Baltic states. Oh, there's downtown Westbridge. I don't know. You could have flown over a couple of other things, like, I don't know, 3,000 miles of ocean.
Yeah, I hear they also practice. They also celebrate Christmas in Rome. One of those states.
Yeah, at least you could have said something like, "Oh, we're just finishing in Boston. We're coming over Westbridge." Why did you have to use the Baltic states? Why did you even use that term?
Somebody dared them. They couldn't use the phrase Baltic states in a script for Sabrina.
That was like some writer. I'm like, watch. I bet you can't use Baltic states. Watch this.
That being said, Reindeer Salem is fucking adorable.
Reindeer Salem was pretty adorable.
I do love the fact. Go ahead.
What do you think about Ted giving her the AAA triptych for her trip around the world? In one sheet.
Yep. She's not going to be sticking to a lot of roads, but it still helps.
I mean, come on. Usually, like a triptych. Like, okay, for those of you who don't know what a triptych is, it's basically so back in the day before Google Maps, you would go to AAA and they would like run a program for you, kind of like Google Maps, to how to get here from here to there, and they would tell you, this is along the way, this is along the way. So she gives them like a trip around the world, literally, and it's like, oh, here's these 3 pages.
To be fair, it could be like 1 page because it just says like go west.
Continue west until you're back here.
Yeah. It's
around the world.
I do love the. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, what do you think about the CGIing of her vacuuming away?
I mean, it's about as good as it ever is,
I was literally watching it, thinking to myself, Al is probably cringing right now to like he's melting on his seat watching this happening.
I didn't think it looked terrible. I think part of the benefit of doing that is that like you're doing it at night, so it doesn't look as blatantly fake as if you're doing it during like daylight.
I'm talking about like when she was like taking off.
Yeah, that was pretty bad. Yes,
that was like cringeworthy.
That was bad.
It was like, and they're just like looking up in the sky as she's like right there, and I'm like, oh gosh.
Because the first time she like takes the vacuum out for a flight, like that was all practical. Like there was clearly like something lifting the vacuum up and going out of her window. This, as you said, is all like poorly done CGI. Like the camera's moving up and there she goes.
And then I do like that they use like, this is Christmas theme, so they use like red and green like sparkles out the back of it. It's like, oh, okay.
The one thing I did love about Salem's little outfit, to get back to that, was when they cut to him before Sabrina zaps in when she zaps in the vacuum. Before that, he's just wearing a fur coat, and it's never explained. It's not like she zapped him into that. He's just knocking around the workshop wearing like a full-length fur coat.
And like you said, it's normal. Like it's to be expected.
And it just happens to work perfectly with his outfit later on. It's like,
yes, it's a Salem, the boxing promoter.
It's like if someone fainted in the workshop and Salem just happened to be dressed as a sexy nurse. It's like, oh, this is just convenient.
The irony is, like, it's like if you put on a skin jacket. Oh, it's a human skin jacket. I'll put this on now.
Like I do around Christmas every year.
Oh, gosh.
Here comes Santa Claus.
What did you think about the, the old-timey laptop?
You know what? That one actually looked a little bit more modern than the one Zelda usually uses. Like, Santa's got some upgraded tech.
I don't know, man. That thing looked rough.
He's got 256 kilobytes going.
I was looking at that thing. I'm like, well, what is this? I was waiting for, him to break out the Commodore 64. Oh, he's got a computer right here.
He's got this electric typewriter here, and if you wind back the pages.
Oh, wonderful.
You made a carbon. The one thing I wanted to talk about was Salem says that Sabrina gave Libby the gift of love for her stepbrother. That's not what she gave him. As you said, she gave Libby a crappy little jewelry box, and Libby reacts lovingly to it. It's not as though she just like started kissing Russell magically. It's just that Russell did one nice thing and Libby was just like, oh, that's nice. You know,
I mean,
a small point. I know.
I mean, it was like, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's not what she said it was. And like, it was just like, even the scene was kind of awkward. Like he like walks up, is like, I got you something. I'm like, I was like waiting for him to like do something like jacked up. Like I thought like she was going to do
like a prank
something mean to her.
Yeah.
And it didn't come out that way, but yeah, like she doesn't give the only thing that we see her give is a shitty jewelry box.
Yep.
So let's not praise Sabrina again because she did something half-assed.
And the other thing is, like, in that, like, the lesson in this episode is obviously it doesn't matter what you get for Christmas. What matters is, like, the people you're around and the moments you have and getting to share the holiday with family and such, right? The issue is, while there are illustrations of that in the Libby and Russell story, that's never really tied in super well to the larger Sabrina learning that lesson story. Like, if Sabrina was to illustrate that her giving Libby the gift of Russell giving her a gift was indicative of that idea that what matters is having your family love you at Christmas, or, you know, being together with your family at Christmas, whatever. If Sabrina vocalizes that lesson, then you really hammer home the lesson, but also that Sabrina has really learned a lesson in itself. As we're here, what it seems like is like Sabrina gets home in a minute and she's like, hey, had a great night. I don't even care if I get a gift. And then the gifts come back and I guess it's gone. Like, while she does learn that lesson, they really should have hammered her learning that lesson home more strongly, I would say.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you at all. Like, they kind of just, I don't know, they just glaze over it pretty much.
Yeah.
Like, oh, like you should know this, opposed to reinforcing it with the character actually saying like, oh, you know what's really important is family this time of year, or it's really important to be with my loved ones and what to see what they get versus what I get. But you don't get that. You get her flying around, meeting some elves, and then she throws a shitty box at her, and then it's like, oh, wonderful.
It is really poorly made.
It was pretty terrible. Like, the end was pretty terrible. And even the very end, which we'll probably get to here in a minute, she doesn't learn anything.
Yeah, I mean,
she doesn't say anything.
That's the thing, is like also the Harvey bit we'll get to in a minute. That is indicative of like not caring about what you get, but caring about the thought that goes into the gift. But again, that's not really super hammered home either. Yeah. We'll get there. Anyway, back at the house, the aunties sing "Coming Round the Mountain" on the ukulele for Bob as he claps along and asks for an encore. That is after some more fine French cuisine. Hilda says that he should watch his calories, but Bob just explains that that's all water weight. In the air, Salem complains about the vacuum's first aid kit not coming with a stomach pump before Sabrina spots Harvey's house. But in a great bit of delivery by Nick Bakay, Salem says that he can't look down right now.
Look, Harvey's house!
I can't look down.
He asks what Sabrina got Harvey for Christmas, and she says that she got him a little miracle. The next thing we see, Sabrina arrives home after the aunties have gotten up the next morning, and she says she's totally changed, and she doesn't even care if she gets any presents, which of course immediately brings back the presents as her egotitis has now been cured. She grabs a present before deciding that someone else can use it more than her, and she zaps it. Eventually it ends up in front of the Russian man whacking a potato. He opens the box and wonders what exactly the gap is. Bob congratulates her, and in getting up, he reveals that he's now fully dressed in his Santa attire. He says that now that she's cured, he can go home, as before he was just faking his ankle, both to give Sabrina the ability to learn a lesson and to get away from Fritz and his fucking Mayday, Mayday, Maydays.
But your ankle, doesn't it hurt?
Nah, I was faking the whole thing.
You were? Yeah. To teach me a lesson, right?
Well, there's that. Plus, I could use a break from, Mandy!
The aunts then start to get furious at Santa before he remembers their gifts, zapping in a CD of Mozart recorded live by Kris Kringle himself for Hilda, and an invitation to a meeting of the minds at Stephen Hawking's house for Zelda. Santa tugs on his beard, noting that no one stays mad at Santa Claus, and he shoots up the chimney as Sabrina smiles. Later on, Salem is recounting his new foreign foods rules to the aunties, as Harvey walks in wishing everyone a Merry Christmas. He gives Sabrina her gift, a computer mouse, which he reveals was supposed to be part of a whole computer, but those damn taxes ate up his check. He then tells her the good news.
Oh, you'll never believe this. I got a call from the department store. Apparently all the kids who came to see me got exactly what they asked for. It's like a miracle.
It's like a miracle. Sabrina says you're welcome to Harvey before realizing and just zapping in some mistletoe to give us a kiss as a distraction as the scene closes. Okay, Phil.
Yes, sir.
The most improbable thing, let's start there. Even if you're going to tell me that Sabrina's magic caused all these kids to get exactly what they wanted, and none of these parents were freaked out by the fact that despite not buying these gifts, all of these gifts showed up.
Mm-hmm.
The weirdest thing to me is that all of these parents would then call the store, and the store would then call Harvey.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, for that to happen is just too much effort on all of their parts.
Yeah, I don't know. It, like you said, it's completely, I mean, we know that, you know, it's probably not plausible, but it's not plausible, but it's absolutely not plausible because, I mean, how does she know of what they wanted?
That's the thing, is it's like, oh yeah, my kid got this great gift. Also, do you know how this great gift got in my fucking house?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I would be terrified and calling ADT. Then again, the idea of Santa Claus as a whole should scare us all. Speaking of shitty gifts, though, Harvey's mouse. It is very sweet, isn't it? But how exactly did he fucking think that he was going to become a mall Santa or a store Santa for like a week and then afford a computer? This is 1997. Computers cost about as much as an aircraft carrier.
I mean, it wasn't that expensive. I mean,
you're talking $1,000 probably.
Yeah, it was probably close to that.
He's not making $1,000 in a week.
I think the first one that we got was like $800 maybe,
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like $600 for the tower and $200 for the monitor. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it wasn't cheap.
Harvey's not making that in a week.
No, not as a mall Santa. I mean, he's lucky. He's probably making, I don't know,
$25.
Then, probably $8 an hour.
Yeah. I mean,
40
his
hours
quality.
A week. Like, I mean, he's not working 40 hours a week either. He's working like maybe 20, 30 hours a week. I mean, it would take him at least a month and a half, 2 months if he saved it all.
Can you imagine spending $1,000 like on your high school girlfriend for a computer?
Nope.
Like,
Nope.
Also, she has a fucking computer in the house. She's used one before.
Well, the other thing I find funny is like, yeah, like you said, like there's computers in the house. Why would she need her own?
I don't know. You know, kids always want a computer.
She's a
but
teenager.
It's like, the internet wasn't even that great then.
No, it was terrible. You got to dial up, and you had to hear this stupid, and then like someone would pick up the phone, and you're like, oh shit, don't pick up the phone. You're gonna fuck up my connection.
And you had to wait like 8 hours to download a photo. It was great.
Oh god, it was terrible.
Also, more bad gifts. Santa definitely screwed Hilda on her present. I mean, I get that it's like Mozart recorded live, and that's cool for her because she likes classical music, but it's just a CD. Zelda literally gets to meet Stephen fucking Hawking's.
Yeah, I mean, you got a CD, and she's gonna meet Stephen Hawking.
Ridiculous.
I did find it funny. Like I forgot to kind of talk about it probably a few scenes back.
Mm-hmm.
When I think she's in the workshop with the elves, she's like, well, can't we just order it via a catalog?
Yeah. Oh, she says it when they force her to go fill in as Santa. She's like, oh, can I just order it from a catalog instead?
Can we just order everyone something from a catalog?
I just found it hilarious. I'm like, it's true. People used to order this stuff by catalogs.
Oh, can you imagine?
Can you imagine?
Sears was a thing.
Oh man, no, I'm talking about like, you have to like order the catalog, get the catalog, and then call them, say I want this.
And fuck, delivery was not nearly as quick as it is now.
Hell no, it'd take forever.
The one other thing was I really liked the Gap joke. I thought it was
Gap.
I thought it was funny for a couple of reasons. Part of it being that especially if you were to give someone something from the Gap now, I think they would just be amazed that the Gap is still open, because who the fuck goes to the Gap anymore?
People go to the Gap.
I mean, if you're going to go to the Gap, you might as well just go to Old Navy. It's the same goddamn stuff.
Yeah.
The
cheap Gap.
The other thing that occurred to me is this is supposed to be a gift for Sabrina. What item from the Gap that was intended for Sabrina will this old Russian man be able to use? Like, is it a camisole? Is it like a sweater set? Is it a nice mini skirt? Like, what the fuck is he gonna wear now?
Oh, high heels. I like high heels.
Oh, fuzzy collars. I can wear this.
Fur.
Ridiculous.
Boots with the fur.
Christ. Let's wrap up here, though, Phil, because as the credits roll, Salem opens his gift, a Bob Newhart album, as Hilda gives Zelda a quilt that she says she made the mortal way, before revealing if that's total bullshit. Zelda then gives Hilda her gift, zapping in sex icon Johnny Mathis, who starts singing Oh Holy Night, as Sabrina realizes that she didn't get anything for Johnny, and the episode closes. What a stupid joke.
No, it's so sad, because literally they zap him in there, and they're both answer like swooning over him, like, oh, he's so hot.
Oh my god,
it's
no,
like
they're like he was 63. He was like 62 when this aired.
Oh my god, is he still alive?
He's 83 now. Yes.
Oh my god. But yeah, it was just funny because it's like, oh, he's so dreamy.
They're fucking absolutely cumming themselves about this guy. Like before, when Sabrina first puts the album on, Zelda's like, oh, he's so dreamy. And Hilda's like, yeah, and his voice is good too. It's like, what part of him do you think is dreamy if not his voice? He's a fucking geriatric.
Oh man.
Good
it's
God.
So true. It's so bad. It's like, oh, he's so dreamy. Oh my god. Okay.
It's like when you guys were like drooling over Randy Travis, that was one thing I'll allow, but like this is just insane.
Yeah, I mean, he was of like the time period. Like Randy Travis was pretty popular back then.
And he was in like his 30s probably.
Yeah, he was probably late 30s, early 40s, you know.
Not like fucking Grandpa here.
Grandpa. Oh, Grandpa, you look so hot.
No, Papa Noel indeed. Phil, that is the episode. And of course, as you know, each episode we wrap up with our ending ceremonies here. First, we rate every episode of Sabrina Teenage Witch on our TGIF scale, our This Good I Feel scale. A 1 to 5 scale. Each level has a corresponding TGIF show. A 1 out of 5 is a You Wish. A 2 out of 5 is a Teen Angel. A 3 out of 5 a Hanging with Mr. Cooper. A 4 out of 5 is a Family Matters. And a 5 out of 5, a perfect score where this will not get anywhere near, is a Boy Meets World. Phil, where does this episode fall for you on the TGIF scale?
I think for me, Al, it's going to be a You Wish.
That's fair. I had this at a like middling Teen Angel. I think there's some fun bits. A lot of them are Salem. They get some fun with Zelda. But and I think honestly, John Ratzenberger is pretty okay as Bob and as Santa Claus. But this is a very much paint by numbers Christmas episode. It hits all the basic chords of, you know, learning the true meaning of Christmas, learning that gifts aren't what's important. But aside from that, aside from those few good moments with Salem and some fun bits, it's a pretty bland episode. But of course, Phil, the main event here, Back of the Winning Closet Award, our episodic award for each installment's biggest fashion flop. I know where I'm going with this, but Phil, where do you, what outfit do you want to enshrine in the back of the linen closet?
I think for me, it's going to be the Streetwalker edition of Sabrina walking, in the montage.
So coat.
With her. Yeah, so the red coat with the red heels and the mini skirt. Like, she literally looked like she was trying to pick up Johns on the side of the road.
For me, it was actually something we didn't really touch on in the episode, but in the scene where Sabrina and Hilda are having dinner, and Zelda walks in, Hilda is wearing this like black and gold outfit that is something not good, I will tell you. It's like a black blouse with like gold like ripples on it, on the sleeves and on the body. And then she's also wearing a black vest over that with like gold leaf plants on it. It's really not good at all. I didn't see it the first time, but like watching it a second time, it deserves some criticism, and it's going to get it here. So for me, that Hilda outfit goes back to the back of the linen closet where it belongs. But Phil, that is the episode. Episode 36 is in the books. Thank you so much for stopping by and talking some Christmas time fun with us.
Absolutely, always a pleasure.
Always good to have you. And folks, you can listen to all of the episodes of Sabrina's Witch Trials and all of the Challenge of the Quizmasters. Phil was actually on the last episode of the Challenge of the Quizmaster, which went up last week. Take a listen to that. You can listen to all that where you get your podcasts. Also on iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play podcast section. Check us out there. Subscribe to us in all those places. And follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for Sabrina's Witch Trials and you'll find us. Sabrina Podcast on Twitter. The next episode is episode 37, go figure. One of my personal favorites because it gives Martin Mull the chance to have a lot of fun. It's Little Big Craft. And a lot of fun stuff happens there. Martin Mull gets to dress up like Dennis the Menace. Whole bunch of fun visuals, and go figure, Sabrina does a spell and it doesn't turn out right.
No.
Yeah, once in the blue moon that actually happens, Phil. But until next time, I want to say thank you to everyone for listening. Thank you to Phil for stopping by. And until the next episode, we will see you in the other realm.
So the next time you're abroad, remember my simple rule. Kielbasa and sauerkraut, yes. Kielbasa and menudo and haggis, no.